Hello guys, and this day has come. People who wanted Russian war against Ukraine more than Putin did. People who inspired the so-called special military operation, who designed it, who began it, now beg Putin to stop the war because it destroys the Russian Federation from within. And with each day of this exhausting war, they see more and more negative consequences for Russia, with Ukraine being able to strike deeper and Russia out of its resources. And here we speak not just about oil, not just about money, but about meat. I hate to repeat this phrase, but that's exactly what the ideologist of the special military operation, of the annexation of Crimea, Girkin, speaks in his letter from the prison. Yes, he's imprisoned in Russia for criticizing the Russian army, for being very unsuccessful in this war. So he says that Russia is running out of meat. And Russia is running out of money to buy more meat and send it more to the front lines that do not decide anything. Because for the sake of some destroyed Ukrainian villages that literally don't give anything to the Russia's budget or to the Russia's imperial project, they sacrifice hundreds of thousands of people. But now they cannot buy them anymore. Russia is collapsing, and people who are ideologists of the Russian imperial projects, of this war, now beg Putin to stop. But we all know he won't, because he does not have a plan of how to get out of this situation and still preserve his regime. That is impossible. Putin knows it. So our task is to speed up and to destroy this evil empire, to destroy Putin's regime, and then start restoring peace and normalcy. Subscribe to talk more about very important and very destructive processes that now take place inside Russia. I am ready to be your guide, to be your interpreter, because a lot of things are discussed online, on YouTube, but in the Russian language, which unfortunately I do know, and I'm prepared to spread this news in our community. So let's begin with this letter that Girkin decided to send to his supporters and all the Russian people, begging them to stop the war. Otherwise, this would inevitably lead to the revolution. Let me know what do you think about this idea, but I don't believe in the Russian population and their protest potential, though Putin's oligarch circle around him can actually begin some mutiny or coup because they are losing a lot. They are losing money, they are losing businesses, they are losing opportunities to save their wealth with new sanctions on Rosneft, on Lukoil, Gazprom destroyed. Come on. All this belongs to someone, and they realize Putin destroys not just Ukraine, but Russia and their own wealth. So Girkin begins this letter with a very ugly, but at the same time very Russian phrase, saying that Russia is running out of meat. That's how they treat their own soldiers. And that Putin, at the very beginning of the Blitzkrieg failure, when he realized they would need more time, accepted this idea that Russia has more people, they can sacrifice more people, Ukraine will sooner or later give up just because they have more soldiers they are prepared to send to the meat grinders. But somehow, after almost 4 years of this war, this strategy is not working. It's working on the country, destroying Russia from inside, because Ukraine becomes more militarized, develops our own weapons, long-range drones, their support of the Ukrainian armed forces only grows stronger both inside Ukraine and outside Ukraine among our NATO allies, and Russia has nothing. Russia achieved just the country to what it wanted. To demilitarize Ukraine, come on, now we are one of the strongest armies in Europe and a country that quickly develops innovative military technologies. Drones do not let the front lines move. And Russian military experts also talk about that. So the strategy to send more meat does not work. And they started losing money. First of all, because Russia is not a rich country. And here I am never tired to remind you that the GDP of Russia is smaller than the GDP of one American state, Texas, or one American state, California, or one American state, Florida. Please remember this when describing Russia as a strong country. Their GDP is pathetic in comparison to yours. And you are not leading wars with countries that fight for their existence, with countries that are known to be strong and freedom-loving, like Ukraine. So, Putin failed with his blitzkrieg. He decided to continue this war, believing that he has enough resources among people and in businesses, in natural resources. And then Ukraine developed a strategy to destroy important for the Russian economy sites like oil refineries, like gas terminals, military arsenals, and many more that is underreported in the global media, but extremely felt inside Russia. Their budget is empty and they literally, as Girkin says, because I'm a kinder person, a more humane person, but as he says, they cannot afford buying new meat because of inflation and, for example, the salary of the Russian soldier at the beginning of the special military operation gave him more than now because Russian money are losing their value. And also more and more of the Russian regional budgets in faraway republics cannot afford paying the money that Putin promised them. This difference between life in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and let's say in the forest of Russia or in Siberia is, tremendous, and we need to understand that. So I have a video that you can actually watch if you know little about this super important topic, but I will sum it all up with one very important phrase: never equate Russia to the Russian Federation and Moscow to, Belgorod or Yekaterinburg or Magadan and Omsk. They live totally different lives, and people far from Moscow who have to pay for Putin's war become more and more dissatisfied. So literally, okay, they had a lot of meat, they still have a lot of population in Russia, but they don't have money to pay them. And do not let, Russian propagandists deceive you that they are fighting ideologically. No, they know they invade a foreign country, they know they are breaking the rules, they are just trying to earn the money and to loot something in Ukraine. So they are joining this army not to fight for Ruski Mir. Let me know in the comments below, would you like a separate discussion about the Ruski Mir? I've mentioned it a lot in my videos, both here and on Anna from Ukraine channel. Also join the community there if you're new. But maybe we need a separate video. Let me know what do you think about that in the comments below. But the majority of these soldiers, many coming from, as the Kremlin describes it, ethnically diverse regions, joined the army for the sake of money, and now the Kremlin does not have money to pay. Will they continue? But during these 3 years of the full-scale war, the beginning, they destroyed the professional Russian personnel. They've lost them perhaps in 2022. Then they destroyed a lot of soldiers and conscript recruits because of these meat grinder attacks that they used. This is not a strategy. And by the way, Girkin compares that to the First World War, when lots of people were sacrificed for the sake of a forester's house. That's exactly what we observe here. Every inch of the Ukrainian territory is very dear to my heart. We need to protect it. But during this last 3 years, Russia took less than 1% of the Ukrainian territory. And these are totally destroyed Ukrainian villages, which literally bring nothing to Russia's budget, which are not possible to live in. So what they do, they simply destroy everything, get the ashes, and sacrifice like thousands and thousands of their own soldiers for the sake of these burnt square meters. Not even kilometers. That's disgusting. This would stop any leader from the continuation of such attacks if he was okay. But Putin is not okay. And what's interesting, more and more people, once again, inspirers, ideologists of this war, people who don't like Ukraine, who don't want anything good, but who understand that continuation of this war will actually destroy them, start begging Putin to end. So professional personnel destroyed, lots of conscripts destroyed, and now we also talk about volunteers that also disappear on the front lines in Russia. And their medics report on YouTube. I watched tons of such videos. They are good for me to understand the situation, and they speak about this new approach of the Russian commanders who totally do not care about the life of their soldiers, and they stopped evacuating them from difficult zones of the front lines. An important reminder, front lines now also on the Russian side, not only in Ukraine. One more failure of the Putin's military strategy, but they literally sacrifice these people not that severely wounded, people who could have survived, because they don't want to save them, they don't want to spend time, they don't want to spend money, they don't want to risk. They have donkeys, and donkeys cannot perform these evacuation tasks. So that's insane, that's awful, that's disgusting, and that tells a lot about the attitude to human life in Russia in general, not just towards Ukrainians or toward Georgians or Lithuanians, but even their own people and their own soldiers who are not treated as heroes. And that is a very big difference with the way we feel about our soldiers here. But our soldiers are defenders, and Russian soldiers are war criminals, and the justice will reach them. It actually reaches them already on the front lines from the side of their own commanders. So lost soldiers, lost volunteers, lost military professionals, and thus Russian army way weaker. Destroyed arsenals. They need to use, tanks from the 70s, from the museums and so on. But most importantly, they run out of money, the budget is empty, and they literally do not have new money to buy new meat for the front lines. Guys, I don't like repeating this, but this is literally what they are talking on the Russian military YouTube, on the Russian TV, and even their propagandists on top channels. And they fear that this will bring revolution. I don't think it's possible, once again, because they are so passive. Maybe they are so traumatized that they literally cannot change anything seriously inside the Russian Federation. But this close circle of Putin can actually do something in the months to come, with more and more problems happening inside Russia, more sanctions imposed, failed strategy with Trump, and they count Ukrainian victories, that with each month we are able to strike deeper inside Russia, even without a permission to use your Tomahawks or Taurus. We do it with our own drones, and they cannot prevent it. They say that in 2022, Ukrainian army was way weaker than it is now. We could not reach lots of the Russian cities that are now in constant explosions and detonations of the legitimate targets. Also, the support of the Ukrainian army is only growing both inside Ukraine and outside Ukraine. And I'm forever grateful to your countries, to your people, for making it possible and making us stronger, smarter, more experienced, standing with us morally, standing with us all this time. Thank you so much, and subscribe, join our community, and please share these videos to spread the truth. This is super important. So they literally do not know how to get out of this situation without revolution. They don't know how to make Putin hear what is happening. And the head of the central bank is shouting about the Minister of Finance, but what they keep repeating from Putin's side is, you're not professional, you're not adapting to the needs, we need to defend Russia. And here we come to this tremendous change in the course of the so-called special military operation. They do need to defend Russia now. Russia was totally safe even back in 2014, in 2015, when their war against Ukraine started, when we were advised not to escalate, though a victim can never escalate, when we were asked, to observe what is happening, and Putin took it as a green light. So Russia was totally safe before the full-scale invasion, before 2022, and now they do need to defend it, and they cannot. thumbs up for that, because this is important. So what we observe, they don't have forces to win. And Russian propagandists, ideologists, imperialists now keep speaking about that openly on their social media, on YouTube, on the Russian TV. They say, if we do not have enough forces, we need to freeze this war, we need to stop, we need to do something, because otherwise we will lose everything. Let's preserve what we have left. Let's try to, get more money, get more people, but we need this pause. That's what they speak. And Putin does not hear them. Putin keeps crossing red lines of the Russian economy, red lines of the Russian, society, population. And more and more among his former supporters start asking why they pretend that everything is okay, why they keep destroying Russia from inside, why they keep awarding the Russian generals and the Russian ministers who keep losing on the front lines with medals. Well, because this part of fake image is needed for Putin himself. And even knowing the truth, he will pretend that everything goes according to the plan, but according to the plan of the Ukrainian armed forces. And that is how this toxic Russian lies, toxic Russian propaganda once again will destroy them from inside. We are witnessing that. Let me know in the comments below, how do you think, who is actually responsible for this total failure of the Russian war against Ukraine and of the reconstruction of the Russian imperial project? Because that's exactly what we witness right now. Ukraine is stronger. Ukraine is united. No matter how they try to frighten us, simply destroying civilian infrastructure in the capital of the European city, Kyiv, this won't change anything. We only become more determined to destroy this evil and to protect the future generations of Ukrainians. And Russians, with each day, we strike deeper and deeper. We destroy more and more. We've sanctioned more than 40% of their oil refining capacities. They are losing. The front lines aren't moving. They have a tremendous, tremendously empty budget. I wanted to say they have a hole in the budget, but that's emptiness in the budget. Vacuum that will suck Putin into his own personal meat grinder. I kind of like this metaphor. So our task is to know the truth, to spread the truth. That's why I will ask you once again to subscribe to this channel, to share these videos, to push the notification button, because we need to ruin these fake images that Putin built during his political reign, just as Ukraine destroys these fakes on the front lines and deep inside the Russian rear. Follow me on other social media. You will find the links in the description of this video, same as the link to our merch shop with lots of good presents that can turn you into the ambassadors of Ukraine, reminding people about our fight and the need to defeat the evil. And thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my sponsors and patrons of this channel. This helps me film more, work more, and I'm forever grateful. Slava Ukraini!